Good morning, guys. Hope all is well. Let me quickly check. Let me quickly check who we are. Mhm. Oh, we got more subscribers. Interesting on the channel overall. Okay, let me see it all. Okay, it's IDK. Good morning. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Everything is working. Okay. What the team is working on? Why are we so busy? To be honest, completely swamped. Uh, we are trying to figure out the Ethereum Classic situation because the Ghost DAO launch needs to happen soon. So Proposal 7 has elected Ethereum Classic for the Ghost DAO deployment. Then Proposal 8 earlier this week, where the community voted uh, with, with a huge favor towards backing DAO with the native coin as opposed to stablecoin. So a couple of things that are arising from those votes. So not everybody voted, but a lot of people voted, but not everybody. So I'm working on this other piece. It's going to be more kind of let's say more vision oriented, maybe, right? So who's our ideal uh, whale, right? So and a couple of those things I did mention to a couple of whales already. What will go there, but a couple of things. That could define a final like an ideal whale, and that's going to be a breathing document. Is that person questions everything, like very skeptical. That person thinks that government should get out of the way if you're not doing anything wrong, especially understands that it takes a dragon to slay a dragon. So we have to become a dragon ourselves as a decentralized community to beat the existing dragons of the central banks and such. We realize that it's not going to be easy, right? Like, no change is easy. Running nodes is not easy. Learning Telegram is not easy. Learning tokenomics is not easy. So it's just not going to be easy. Uh, and two last ones that I at least have written so far is defend a view. Like, if you have a view, really defend it. But then the predecessor of that is develop a view. Ideal whale has to develop his or her view. Um, and if you don't have a view, you need to ask questions. So no longer, because you know how like in groups we're like, oh, like there are no stupid questions, just ask questions. But everybody feels kind of uncomfortable asking questions, right? It's just the nature of the game. 98% I think lurkers, 2% active, 98% lurkers in any community, including our community. And it's like, how do you force lurkers? Like you can't, like to ask to participate. You really can't. But and we don't want to kind of like we don't force, right? But just change the frame, right? It's not that you need to participate because you're told to participate, but you need to participate because you have to develop a view. And if you don't have a view, you're not an ideal whale. There's not much you can contribute. That's why I think lots of people did not vote because they did not have their view. And I respect the fact that you guys, without the view, did not vote, meaning you don't want to sway the vote in one way or another without like 100% conviction, and that's absolutely respectable. But I think we need to just start like asking more questions, and the quality of questions will also start increasing. Like, it's one thing to ask questions from ground zero, like I don't know nothing, explain me everything, like I'm 5, but I'm not willing to even start reading a book, and it's okay, right? But the discussion will be elevated towards, don't explain this to me like I'm 5. Explain this to me like I'm a junior in college, right? I already went through high school, so know that material. I went through first 2 years, freshman sophomore. I know that material. Now I do not understand the junior level material. Please explain, right? So now, like, I'm coming with all this like kind of um, baggage of knowledge, right, to these discussions, and that's what we need to start developing. Like, we need to elevate these discussions. So I just noticed that not everybody voted. So, and it's a pretty it's a pretty complex kind of matter, to be honest. So yeah, the article has been written. We went over that last time. What we are working on, like why we're so busy, is we are trying to figure out if these formulas actually make sense. So they do make sense. Okay, they work. But then we ran into certain kind of edge cases that we thought didn't work, but they did work anyways, right? So we discovered it. So lots of mathematical kind of stuff is going on, and I may publish maybe another piece like explaining kind of this new approach, how it changes things. Um, specifically, specifically the two problems that we faced with ghostDAO with native coin backend this week. First problem was, does the price of a native coin impact how many egos you can mint? So that was like the first problem. It's half addressed, half not addressed. So that's an important one. So like Pulse is 0.00001, that's the price. So and then Ethereum is like $4,000 per bucket, right? So I'm talking about the dollar price, right? So we thought that the formula is reacting to the price, and it doesn't. It does not react to the price of the native coin. But the formula, the second point was, the formula does react to the price of egos on that particular blockchain in dollar terms. So that is reacting. So the second problem was, if our treasury has LP tokens, okay, that's fine. But what if our treasury also have native coins, right? Like we just do an ETC bond, right? So in that case, the treasury collects ETC, naked ETCs. Now ETCs lose purchasing power 3% per year due to inflation. Of course, the price may react differently. Maybe the price is going up or down, but fundamentally, the supply is increasing by 3%. There's 3% inflation. So what the team is almost how to say almost well, I told them not to do it, and they said no, we have to do it anyways. The idea is that ETC that we discussed last time, that ETC will have to be swapped to an LP. Because if that naked ETC is there, it's just losing. But if that ETC is swapped towards LP, that LP can start generating DEX fees. And those DEX fees may counteract any inflationary forces of the ETC itself. And of course, when I say ETC, it applies to any token, Pulse, Ethereum, anything, right? So it's the same thing for any native coin. And the problem with that, we realized, was that when we are converting ETC into an LP token, the valuation based on the formula is dropping. And the value is the only defining factor of how many e-ghosts could be minted. And we got stuck with this for a couple of days. We thought that there was a mistake, but there was no mistake. So far, what we're learning is there's no mistakes in anything. Everything is good. It's just that we want to, like, we're so paranoid, we just want to make sure it's right. So far, so the second question is answered. It seems like it's all good. Second question is half answered. So we need to spend a little bit more time answering that too. But no changes have been made so far to any math behind it. We just got scared for a second here and there, but then we're like, oh, like that's why. So far these formulas all good. And yeah, we just want to make sure that we didn't mess anything up. So that's the busyness factor with that. The other factor that happened this week, and Star Protocol, kudos, sir. So Star Protocol broke down the fucking bridge, and that's a good thing. So I'm not. Let me maybe open up another link. 1 second. Let me just show you what I am talking about. 1 second. I just wanna show something. The ID is what, 111-55111, right? Isn't that true? If anybody knows the ID of Cipollio, include testnets. It's 111-55111, right? It's right there. And let me share the screen. So let me just put that link here. Okay, so talking about the vision of Ghost. I probably should have done a presentation on this, like that I'm thinking now, but I'm sorry, like I probably should have done a presentation because I explained this to whales and they really, really liked it. But I was drawing on the screen instead. So we need to decide what we are, like who we are. And one whale about a year ago I spoke to him yesterday. He said about a year ago that every single chain is the same, like has like same positioning. There is no difference between them, whether technologically, right, or in any other way. It's just all these blockchains are the same. Like, and let's just face it. Like, what's the difference between Celo and Binance chain? What's the difference between Avalanche and Polygon? Like, the difference is so minuscule. Not a single difference is 1000x. And that's why Ethereum is the killer. Yeah, Ethereum was uh, definitely benefiting from the first movers advantage, 100%, because they are the first ones who created the smart contracts and got massive adoption therefore. But what's the positioning of everybody else, right? So like Arbitrum and Optimism tried to become cheaper, but now Ethereum is cheaper itself. So Arbitrum and Optimism, from what I know, kind of dying. Um, and I don't think that was the right move for Ethereum in any case, right? So what's our view? What's our positioning? And this discussion of whether to back ourselves with stable coins or native coins is very relevant to that positioning. So let's assume we say, and that was the biggest criticism, we say that the native coins will just be dropping because we don't believe in native coins. The inflationary or whatever, or the bear market is going to come here and then it's going to screw up our treasury. And then it will be like a double negative cycle, right? So we have the bank run scenario in Olympus down ghostDAO, where the token goes down and like everybody's like selling off, right? So it's bank run scenario. But that happens due to just forces within the ghostDAO itself. But then if these forces are accelerated by another force of the native coin being down, because when native coin goes down, the e-ghost also goes down. So that's a double spiral kind of downside move, right? Potentially. So okay, so now we screwed. Sure, that is the potential for the native coin. Like the bank run scenario is there. But when one native coin goes down, say Ethereum Classic goes down, ETC goes down, that creates a massive arbitrage opportunity between ETC and Ethereum. Why? Because if eGhost is denominated in Ethereum, which is either stable or going up, for example, in this case, and ETC is going down. So therefore, eGhost on that chain is cheaper. So we have cheaper eGhost on Ethereum Classic, and same or more expensive eGhost on Ethereum. What's going to happen? People will start just buying ETC, right? Because that's the only way for them to buy eGhost. Why would they do that? They just want to take advantage of the arbitrage opportunity. So they want to buy very cheap on Ethereum Classic and sell it on Ethereum. So that way, when Ethereum Classic goes down in price, this bridge, the Ghost bridge, will help the price of Ethereum Classic not drop down so much, in fact, go up. Right? So this arbitrage between eGhost and multiple chains will be the source of that. And that puts us in a very unique position where we are the savior chain for the partners that we care about. When I say partners that we care about, I mean blockchains. So do we care about Polygon? That's going to be for us to decide. Do we even deploy on Polygon? Do we even deploy on Avalanche? Right? That's going to be a question for all of us to decide. There are great kind of pros and cons, of deploying on any EVM chain. So it has to be one by one. But so far, me personally, I'm seeing few chains to launch at first. These few chains are Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, Gnosis, Pulse, and maybe Tron, right? Because Tron has this amazing tether trade between Bitcoin and Tron. Okay, so those 5 EVM chains. I don't see other chains, to be honest, yet. Now, can we deploy on them? Yes, we could, but okay. So let's assume we deploy on these chains on the ETC. So ETC goes down because of the arbitrage mechanism. We help ETC not drop down that much. What the ETC community going to do to our project? What do you think? I don't know. Nobody knows, but I think that they will be supporting us with like as much as they could, because we are helping them survive. So thus, we need to figure out the partners that we care about that we want to survive for the next 20 years. And do we want Solana to survive as an enterprise play? That's a question. Do we want XRP to survive as an enterprise play? That's a question. Not because we don't want enterprises to be successful and investors in those enterprises to be successful. More like we want to support retail people. We want to support ourselves. We want to support the people. Not because we are, how to say, not because we are like, you know, have goodness in our hearts and that's why we're doing this. No, we're doing this because that's logical, because we hate enterprises. Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's people are friends. Like, it's just purely logical solution, right? I mean, of course, we have feelings, like positive feelings as well. But even outside of those feelings, purely rational, logical solution would have been just to support the people, because the people hopefully could change the situation to the better. Of course, with a plan, not a mob, like not like a crowd, but like organized community. Hmm. So that's the first thing that could happen from this positioning, right? From doing the native coin. Second thing from doing the native coin is uh, Ethereum Classic is going down. So what will the sexes do? The sexes will start dumping ETC because it's a depreciating coin. Okay, cool. But what's going to happen is users will start buying it back. And since they want to take advantage of the arbitrage, what they're going to do, they're going to go to Coinbase, for example, buy ETC, get ETC out of Coinbase into their wallet. And once ETC is in their wallet, they put it on a DEX in order to get eGhost. And then they take advantage of the arbitrage and make money. So what's going to happen to the liquidity of ETC? The idea is that liquidity of ETC will be moving out of sexes and towards DEXs, not towards necessarily DAO, ghostDAO, but towards DEXs. That's what we want on that specific chain. So we are returning liquidity of ETC back to ETC. So not only we helping with the price, but we also bring the liquidity back. Now we're not doing this by by promoting ETC on Twitter. We're just doing this through the arbitrage mechanism. Bridge plus arbitrage mechanism. So bridge is our know-how. Arbitrage mechanism is just a consequence of the bridge, right? So an arbitrage is just discrepancy of prices. So what will the community of ETC do to us? Probably support us, right? Because we are helping ETC price be less manipulated, because significant flows of ETC will return back to the chain from the SEX. And SEXs are super known for manipulating everything, right? Because it's so easy. Because they don't have to have enough stack to even manipulate. They can always manipulate like just a fraction of it. But if we even take that fraction out of them, it's a lot more difficult to do any manipulation. Thus, the prices will just be subject to Uniswap V2, which is purely decentralized price discovery, which is what we want. And of course, for that task, we need to select the partners, the chains that we trust have pure Web3 vision. Because if chains don't have that vision, say Base from Coinbase, there's not a lot of sense to do Base. Why? Because, they will not be okay with moving the price discovery onto the DEX because they want to be able to manipulate the price. Very simple. They'll be opposing that, right? So we need the community who says, no, 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 that's exactly what we want to do, right? And again, those communities, I believe, that's my personal view here, exist so far on Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, Gnosis, Pulse, and to some extent Tron. Again, that's that's kind of the thing. Okay, so far so good. What about the stablecoin? Okay, so native coin is native coin, but why stablecoin is bad? And here's why stablecoin is bad from vision perspective. From vision perspective, if you're gonna go with stablecoin, I know that we're going with native coin already. I know that's the vote, but just to kind of elaborate on this, if you're gonna go with the stablecoin, the thinking goes like this: we do not believe in ETC. ETC will drop. We need stability in our life. That's why we're gonna go for stablecoins. The word stable, the term stable inside of the stablecoin for some reason should make us all believe that it's actually stable, although it's fucking not stable. We all know it's not stable. But the stablecoin psychologically, like, oh, it has to be, the same. No, it's not. Right? It doesn't work like this. But okay, fine. So we need some stability in our life, so let's use stablecoin. So we don't trust ETC, but we trust Tether or DAI, which is backed by Circle. So essentially, the vision is, okay, screw the native coins ecosystem. How about we are a bridge solution for dollar that is being bridged from one dying chain to another dying chain? That's literally the proposition for doing native stablecoins. Now, why did we do stablecoins before? Because we didn't know any better. Like, again, we're all learning here, and there was just no better solution, to be honest, right? And DAI, yeah, it's backed by Circle, but there's still something that is not Circle behind it, right? So it's kind of the best of the worst. But if the native coins could actually do it, thanks to Avalon for kind of pushing for ETC for Proposal 7. Whoever voted for Proposal 7, thank you guys. Kind of that made us all rethink that, oh shoot, like, kind of, let's just ask ourselves this question. Are we going to die for the vision of a US dollar, because stablecoin is just a US dollar, of a US dollar being bridged from one dying chain to another dying chain? That's one vision. Second vision is, are we going to become the united force? That's why I say Web3 purists unite. Are we going to become the uniting force, uniting and helping out pure Web3 projects in this space, so we either grow together or we literally die together? Which vision are we, like, which vision every single person who's listening to this call is going to die for, actually die for? So if that's the former, which is like stability, I get it. More, arguably, that could be an easier money grab, to be honest. But it's a money grab for the first couple of years, and then after that, a better UX team will come over, which is Web 2.5, and they'll do that, dollar settlement thing faster, better, easier, etc. We're not competitive. We're just not competitive with Web 2.5. Web 2.5 will always be better UX. Always better UX, better marketing. It's just they will crush us on the UX front. Now Web3 will not be necessarily that UX friendly, but it will enable to convert from one chain to another, swap from one chain to the next, bridge, right, etc. No KYC, no nothing, and at the same time we are helping the space grow, because again we help with the price. The price is not going to be dropping as much due to arbitrage, and the liquidity will be moving back to DEXs. Thus, the price manipulation will be a lot more difficult to orchestrate. So that's the thinking behind this. So, and if you guys did not make up your mind, like, I do respect it. So, and final thing, and then I think there's actually, Mr. K, what do you think the sexes will do in response to the rise of Ghost popularity and the liquidity moving off the sexes? There's not much they can do. I mean, they can just start buying it more. So, right, like, and that's an oxymoron. So they'll have to be buying more ETC, pushing the price even higher, right, to have more control. What will that do to the price of eGhost on that specific blockchain? So by making stupid, by wanting to control stuff, those sexes will be helping pure Web3 projects grow further, and that's the anti-fragility aspect of it, right? Like, no matter what happens, like if ETC goes down, good, there's arbitrage. If ETC goes up, good, all right? Like, there's not a single, well, I mean, I can't say that nothing can go wrong. Lots of things could go wrong. But like, from that specific perspective, we are okay with any volatility, up or down. In fact, volatility is what we want. If prices are stable, that's not what we want. Like, we want prices to move. And crypto is known for huge volatility compared to other asset classes. And what we do, we are just utilizing on that volatility. If you think about, like, I never thought about this myself. Like, that's the realization just came to me. Like, I'm learning every single day, just like you guys. So, like, I didn't even think about this. Like, but yeah, volatility, we actually benefit from volatility because that creates arbitrage, period. So whatever sexes do, whether they sell it or buy it, it's good for us. It's good for ETC, and it's good for Ghost. Why is it good for Ghost and ETC? It's good for ETC because obviously the price goes up, so more validators and more decentralized network, hopefully. And why is it good for Ghost? Because more arbitrage opportunities, so more bridging fees, and thus more validators. Because validators would just go after bridging fees. So those are the two parameters that Ghost could help with when we are moving onto the native coin backend. But there's one other aspect that Star Protocol kind of brought to everybody's attention. We knew that that's a problem, but he brought to everybody's attention like heavily. So I'm sharing Chainlist right now. So Chainlist gives you RPC endpoints. So what's an RPC endpoint? It's like an API point that is enable you to interact with a given blockchain. In this case, that's Ethereum Sepolia with the testnet. So what we're focusing on for the moment, is like kind of both score and privacy are green, right? So so let's just put everything in perspective. Let's just put it in perspective. I want to like emphasize how things in Web3 are being done really. And lots of you guys don't know that because, again, you're not interacting with Web3 projects. Like Solana will not necessarily have this issue, right? And stuff like that. So you we need to realize that Ethereum is at this moment what, half a trillion market cap? Half a trillion market cap. The market cap of Ethereum is larger than GDP of most countries on this planet. Ethereum is probably top 100 market cap, whatever, organizations, right, in the world. Maybe top 200. It's massive. Now, how many RPC endpoints would you provide as an Ethereum foundation for the leading testnet? So at this moment, there are multiple testnets. There's Sepolia, there's Haleski, and then there is Ephemer, something else. Ephemer, whatever the fuck. I don't know how it's called, right? I don't know how to pronounce it. So the leading one is Sepolia, though. Sepolia is like the number one testnet for a $500 billion market cap project. How many RPC endpoints, public RPC endpoints, would you provide if you were in that situation? Let's just put this in perspective. Every single server probably costs like, I don't know, $50, $100 a month. That's it. It doesn't cost a lot. So, well, turns out that Ethereum is okay with just providing 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's not all by Ethereum Foundation. Some of them, I'm probably not going to be able to find, but one of these ones is other providers provided, and maybe it's not here, but it's fake. One of these, it's literally giving you fake stuff. It's we remember, we reported it, right? It's bad. This one of these RPC endpoints give you bad information, incorrect information. Now, RPC endpoints connected to a blockchain. So what Star Protocol did, he apparently did run so many nodes that they were all hitting the same RPC endpoint, and he got timed out because every single RPC will have a limit. And you would think that Ethereum would go ahead and create more RPC endpoints because, again, it's what is $100, $50 a month? It's nothing, right? It's a $500 billion. Don't you want adoption, right? Ethereum, don't you want other people to use you, right? But apparently they don't, right? So, and it's been like this. It's not that it just became like this. It's always been like this. And you guys who are not technical, you just don't know. But that's what's happening on the background. That's how shitty Web3 kind of space is. So, okay. So how is that related to Ghost? Well, if you want your nodes, your validated nodes, to not be timed out by public RPC endpoints, you will need to run your own RPC endpoint. So, by running your own RPC endpoint, you'll be able to have as many requests as you want, right? Pretty much, within reason, and you'll never be timed out. What is required to run an RPC endpoint? Well, kind of to run a full node. You're not going to run a validated node where you have to do 32 Ethereum, right? You don't need the stake. You just need to run a validated node, like a light node. And it's sufficiently affordable to do it, right? You don't need to store the whole ledger. So Ethereum would say you need 2 terabytes of ledger. You don't need that. You can prune the ledger, right? So you can record the ledger. Or you can only store last month of ledger, for example, which is going to be, I don't know, 100 megabytes. Or sorry, 100 gigabytes potentially. So you can do a week in this case, right? It's going to be whatever fraction of a gigabyte, right? You can actually store just the last 50 blocks, for example, which is going to be megabytes, literally megabytes. And I'm pretty sure Stack Protocol is going to figure this out, and for himself and for his crew, and he'll start asking questions. So you guys will see that in Rails. So, but what will that do to the ecosystem? Well, the bridging, if we really want to do decentralized bridging, and that's what also tells you why there are no decentralized bridges out there. If you really want to do decentralized bridges, we will have to increase the number of RPC endpoints for Ethereum Classic, for Pulse, for Gnosis. So we are literally going to help make the ecosystem for every single chain more testable for other developers for just providing more RPC endpoints. Because we need those RPC endpoints for ourselves, for the bridge. So not only helping the chain with the price is going down, we help. The arbitrage takes care of it to some extent. We try to remove the liquidity of the sexes towards the dexes, but we also improve the infrastructure component comprised of RPC endpoints. And I'm pretty sure that's not it. I'm pretty sure there are some other things that we'll do. So essentially, we are becoming like this meta blockchain that helps all pure Web3 projects, again, grow together. That's what we're trying to do. Would be nice, of course, to add UTXO chains to this Bitcoin, Litecoin, Doge, Monero. Um, Monero is not UTXO, but close. Zcash, like Bitcoin Cash, like all the general suspects. So it would be nice to add them all up, especially since privacy coins are moving up so much this year. Like some of them are anywhere from 100% up to 6, 7 times, like 6, 7x upside in 12 months. Because this demand for privacy, and Ghost is also a privacy chain. So that's what we are dealing with, and that's why it's exciting. So Stack Oracle broke his RPC endpoints, and what happened was the bridge stopped going, most likely because his RPC endpoints were timed out. So his validators were just not listening to the Ethereum or to Sepolia. So therefore, since he had so many nodes, we couldn't reach the majority of 2/3, and the bridge was just stuck, right? So what do? What's the lesson from this is do not let Stack Protocol be the only entity running whatever 30, 40, 50, 100 nodes. We all need to run that many nodes then, right? Because if one cluster of nodes is down, we need to make sure that's not impacting the bridge in any way. So that's a good problem to have. Decentralization is a good problem to have. All right, so that's this. Last final thing, how to become a ghost whale. So had some feedback that it's a little difficult for some whales to become whales. Okay, I mean, arguably, but fine, since we have feedback. So just quick article here, which we had prior, but now we just added in 12 easy steps, and now they're enumerated. So if you guys are trying to onboard whales, now they're step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, right? And then step 5, like they are in order now. So it's 12 steps, and it's the same content, nothing changed except for like the step remuneration, right? So step 8, step 9, and then boom, you got to step 12. So now you're a whale. Congratulations. So 12 easy steps or non-easy steps, whatever, and you're going to be onboarded as a whale, and now you can vote and stuff like that. Okay. Please throw any questions. I would like to move to Vita, which we are avoiding for quite some time. I personally didn't have any time to write more Vita articles. I need to finish the Web3 series, pure Web3, and then move on to why Ghost is Web3 Vita. I'm just out of pocket completely. We are busy with the native coin backend and the bridge, so we need to figure that out. So that's kind of where all the time and effort and focus is moving towards. But I think within a couple of weeks, probably a month, I'll resume writing stuff on this matter, and we have a lot of articles to cover before before we run out of material. So because we wrote like articles for I think the next like month or 2 months. So we paused on money properties last time, 2 weeks ago, and we discussed. We paused on the money functions. So remember, like that was a quick summary of different thinkers. Of course, there have been a lot more thinkers than 1, 2, 3, than those 6. Everybody was trying to figure out what money is and how money has been created, history of money. Like it's been a journey. But just a quick summary of the functions of money. So Aristotle thought that medium, exchange, unit of account, those 2 primary functions. John Locke thought store of value is one of the primary functions of money. Adam Smith confirmed those 3. Marx went with 5, but he thought medium of exchange, unit of account are primary. Jevons thought same as Marx for the primary 2. And Menger said only medium of exchange is primary, everything else is secondary. And remember, we kind of be discussing why Vita money lost in the material world of money. Like, why are we not paying ourselves in sheep denominated currency, right? Or corn denominated currency, or tobacco denominated currency. And the argument is that Vita money just was not competitive. So let's talk about like why it wasn't competitive. And that's this is a very important section. So money properties now. So in order for money to serve these 5 functions, but we're going to be focusing on those 3 functions, the top 3 that most of these thinkers agree on, which is medium of exchange, unit of account, and store of value. In order for the money to serve these functions, the money has to have certain properties. So what are these properties? So utility and value. So also like really quickly, so Vita money only has a score of 48. because utility value is pretty high, stability and cognizability is high, but these ones, portability, instructability, homogeneity, divisibility, very low. Reserve currency, like high on these two, and then moderate here, and then fiat is well, all over the place. But from the score perspective, because Jovan said that utility is the most important, portability is the second most important, and then so on and so forth, and cognizability is the least important, but still important. The scores are that Vita is 48, and it's losing completely to reserve and fiat at 65 and 61, respectively. So I think we actually did cover utility and value, right? So utility value, just quick refresher, is the money itself has to have a utility, right? So it has to have its own use. From perspective of kind of Aristotle, it has to be either consumed, right, or utilized. Like Peter Schiff always says about like gold has utility, like it can be used in jewelry and stuff. So that's what that's the utility in this sense. And Peter Schiff says, well, Bitcoin does not have utility, right? So but gold does. So that's why Bitcoin is not money. So right or wrong, that's his opinion. So on the portability side in particular, we spoke about um, we spoke about um, how Vita is very difficult to transport, and the argument is that today Vita is potentially not as difficult to transport compared to other currencies, because how do you transport fiat? Well, you think you can do that via the banking system. Maybe you could, but you go to another country, your bank is frozen, your bank account is frozen. So you're able to send wire transfers. Congratulations. First of all, it takes you fucking forever to send it. Those of you who did send foreign wires. But then if anything happens, Swift is not responsible for anything. And then due to sanctions, you cannot like send money now to Iran for like or Cuba for very like right. So it's kind of also bullshit that you can be sending fiat everywhere. Yeah, maybe between Europe, like maybe between G7 countries like America, Canada, Europe, and Japan and Australia. Like maybe, right? But outside of those, like as they say, developed countries, like try to send money to Africa. Like good luck. There's no banking system there. Try to send money to offshore accounts, BVI. Like why startups should not necessarily be incorporated in BVI. Well, yeah, the tax regime is very amazing. It's 0% on everything, but there's no banking system. You can't send the money, but then you're not going to be able to get it back, or it will take you forever to send it, right? Like notoriously bad banking ecosystems exist in Montenegro, right? In BVI, like all the Caribbean countries with like zero taxation, Seychelles. Like it's pretty bad banking system. Maybe okay for crypto, but for banking, it's terrible. And from banking perspective, there are not that many good offshore countries left. Maybe UAE, and but it's 9% tax now. Maybe Bahrain, and maybe some maybe Panama, non-territorial tax system, and so on and so forth, right? But overall, like fiat is not as portable as we really think. Now, if you want to move cash out, that's 10 grand. And in Europe, correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys Europeans, right? But I think there have been laws now that if somebody finds cash more than like $1,000 of cash on you, then it can be confiscated. You go to jail because now that money is bad money, is dirty because it's cash. So you cannot hold cash anymore. You cannot store cash in your house, like stuff like that. Maybe I'm wrong about the minimums. Maybe it's not 1,000, maybe it's 3,000, but I'm not wrong on the kind of on the aspect of it. So now $10,000, you know how we can get 10,000, bring 10,000 cash with us when we are doing foreign travel. Well, very few people know that $10,000 has not been indexed. So whenever that 10,000 rule has been created in today's dollars, that's almost like probably $50 or $100,000. Like that's a lot more value that you can bring with yourself. But that $10,000 has now been indexed. So every single year you can bring less and less with you in terms of cash. If you guys do not know that, just so you know. So is fiat really portable? That's a big question. Now, is gold very portable? Same thing. Germany is trying to extract gold from the US. I'm not sure were they successful or not. I don't think they were successful. Like lots of European countries now trying to get gold out of the US vaults. I don't think it's successful. Now, if you are a physical, like a retail individual, you can bring with yourself $10,000 worth of gold. That's it. If you bring more, you're going to be arrested, and stuff will be confiscated. So is gold really like reserve currency, silver, same thing? Like, is it really portable? That's a huge question if it's portable. Like, it's portable, like if you are bringing it in a bag from one house to another house within your country. Maybe it is portable, fine. But then in a similar, well, fine, like that's portable. Same thing with fiat, it's portable. But we're talking about the global world, and it's not very portable. And of course, Vita lost, right? So how do you transport like sheep from one place to another? Like it's very, like you need to, without modern transportation, you need to go, I don't know, from Byzantine to, I don't know, to Rome, right? And like you're not going to be able, like you need to go on the sheep, right? Like like how do you even transport your cattle? Like it's like the cattle is going to die, so untransportable. Can you do this with corn? Like some dry agricultural products? Maybe yes. And I think that's what they've been doing actually. They've been kind of transporting back and forth wheat and stuff. So they've been doing that, by the way. So compared to portability of gold, arguably Vita maybe even kind of the same. But let's assume it's inferior, right? For this matter. And of course, from my perspective, kind of Vita is Vita. Now, few people know that there has been a tobacco standard in America. I thought it was like for 10 years. It seemed like it was for like almost a century or something. Like it was, I thought it was like a quick glimpse in history. Tobacco standard. No, no, no. It was for an extended period of time. So colonial America, tobacco officially served as money in Virginia starting in 1618, with its value set by government proclamation. So they experienced the physical difficulty of transporting large quantities of tobacco. What do? They started issuing paper money against tobacco. So it's Vita money, right? So it's a tobacco-backed currency with like receipts essentially. And people say, well, you need credit to grow economy. Cool. You can also issue credit receipts backed by tobacco. It has been the case. And I think why tobacco here did not really sustain itself further, because think about this, tobacco is a revenue of the United States of America at that point in time, right? So you grow tobacco because that's revenue. So your money grows with revenue. So you don't have to have a central bank that tells you when to expand or contract the supply of money, because your money supply grows with revenue. What is revenue? You produce as much as you can sell, right? You can overproduce, but then next year you will underproduce, right? And then, right? So, and then if you overproduce, you can destroy it as well, right? If it goes sour or whatever. And if you say kind of put all the tobacco for the internal use, so everybody smokes whatever smokes and they're happy. Now you can expand your trade, your revenue, therefore, to foreign affairs as well, and kind of start exporting tobacco. But it's still revenue based system, and that's why you don't need central banks who will be manipulating the fucking thing. Because when you have an opportunity to manipulate, that opportunity will be taken sooner or later. That's why we are anti-central banks, not because we are, how to say, not because necessarily the decisions are like, kind of, not because like the interest rate today was like, oh, unfairly raised up or down, but because that's now being used as a political factor. It's no longer an economic factor. And kind of, they say what Federal Reserve is like a separate entity. It's not, officially it's not reporting to the president, and president arguably cannot fire kind of the director of the Federal Reserve. Well, they can, but they can, right? So de jure they cannot, de facto they could, and I think that's what's happening slowly but surely, right? So you can sue him, right? Because now you have some influence over judges and stuff. Like you can do a lot of things. You can do a lot of impact, and that's what's happening. So, but when it's revenue backed, then you don't need the central bank. Period. So now that's a Vita money, and that's kind of the same thing with Ghost here, right? So our inflation is backed by bridging revenue as well, right? Similar to how tobacco revenue is being generated. Okay, so that's how they solve the portability with Vita. Although again, we say portability for Vita is very inferior, but the solutions exist. The receipts, like it's been there forever, so could be solved. All right, indestructibility. So again, that's another quality of money that we say that Vita is very inferior to. But again, not necessarily, because we say, okay, so paper money is like, you know, somewhat indestructible, um, somewhat durable, but that's not true. Uh, that's very not true, because how much cash do you guys hold in your wallet? For how long, right? If you hold it for a year, the money is still good. If you hold it for 2 years, the money is still good. You need to hold it like in special like places and stuff. But if you hold that money, like paper money, for 10 years without any protection. Like let's assume it's very, very high humidity where you live. Like let's assume you live, let's not take developed countries. Let's go Southeast Asia. Let's go to Indonesia. And you hold your paper without any protection. It will go sour within a couple of weeks, guys. The mold will start coming out, right? So that's how it works. Like it's not really durable. Like you have to really take care of your paper money. Depends on your climate. To say that paper money is like super durable, fiat money, no, absolutely not. Gold, same thing. Like the problem with gold is it's one thing to, oh, I have my gold and nothing happened to it. It's another thing, oh, shoot, I scratched it accidentally. Or again, like because of some temperature differences, whatever. It seems like from what I know, gold does really go bad, but you still need to take care of it. Silver though goes bad completely, right? So due to oxygen. So silver is kind of worse money compared to gold from durability perspective. So gold is still more durable. But let's assume you scratch gold. Now what do? You cannot resell it anymore. So is it durable? Now it's worse. Like I mean, in today's realities, I mean, right? Like in ancient times, sure, you scratch it, who cares? You just heat it up again and boom, reproduce, right? But what do you do today in today's realities? Whom are you gonna go to heat it up, right? So if there's a scratch, arguably it just lost a lot of fucking value. If your coin has a scratch, maybe you'll be able to sell it like 10% cheaper. So you just lost value. So it's not as durable as we all think. And obviously, Vita money, extremely, well, arguably like the least durable, right? So like, because everything goes like rotten, right? Like as John Locke, he was talking about, like it's also to be, if it is to be passed about in trade and kept in reserve, money must not be subject to easy deterioration or loss. It must not evaporate like alcohol, not decay like wood, no rust like iron, right? So iron rusts, although that's metal money. Destructible articles such as eggs, dried cold fish, cattle, or oil have certainly been used as currency, but what is treated as money one day must soon afterwards be eaten up, right? So like these ones not very durable. And John Locke here says the same thing. Like if he also bartered away plums that would have rotted in a week for nuts that would last good for his eating a whole year, he did no injury. So John Locke was talking about indestructibility a lot, and store of value, therefore, right? So for him, store of value means that the money could be saving the value. So even Locke differentiated, yeah, like plums get rotten pretty fast, but nuts like get stored, forever. Not forever, but you know what I mean, like for a very, very long period of time. So um, and Joans also says several kinds of corn are less subject to this objection, to durability objection, since when well dried at first, they suffer no appreciable deterioration for several years. So there are ways for protecting Vita money, even the old school Vita money, like the agricultural and pastoral thing. But let's assume that Vita money is destructible. So what are the solutions like for making Vita money less perishable? Well, in case of frozen meat, for example, right? Like you can have some technologies here. So there's some ideas, right? But of course, kind of and here I say, yeah, like precious metals can be scratched, right, or corroded, right, and now they just lose value as well. And same thing with fiat money. Like if there's a stamp on the dollar bill somewhere in the U.S., they'll take you. Outside of the U.S., they will not take you. Like they will not take that bill. Just so you guys know. Like you have a $100 bill, you come to an exchange. Lots of you don't know. And there's a stamp, they will not take it, or they'll take it with 15% depreciation. So a discounted like value, and that's only going to be like some black markets, unofficial markets. They'll not take this like in an official bank. So solutions for Vita here, not much, right? Like you can freeze some stuff, but if you freeze meat, it's not the same as Vita. Like Vita needs to reproduce. Meat does not reproduce. The cattle reproduces, right? So there's not much you can do with Vita, but kind of the argument is that Vita is just not as much worse in today's realities as fiat or reserve currencies like gold. And homogeneity, um, perhaps the last one, so the other word for fungibility. So here we say all portions of specimens of the substance used as money should be homogeneous. So the same, right? So kind of exchangeable. That is the same quality so that equal weights will have exact same value. And that's where Vita money actually loses. So one apple is not equal to another apple. They say apples to apples. Well, one apple does not equal to another apple because there could be different types of apples, right? Could be Macintosh apple, for example, or golden apple, right? Could be different sizes of apple. Could be sweet apple or not sweet, right? When it comes down to cattle, it goes even worse. You're a sheep, right? Like I have an alpha sheep, and you have like a beta sheep, for example, right? But they're not the same in value. I have a female sheep, you have a male sheep, not the same in value. I have just a bigger sheep, right? And you have a smaller sheep, like for whatever reason. Or my sheep is healthier than yours, and yours has a virus. And from that perspective, of course, kind of the inter interoperability, right? Interexchangeability of cattle and pastoral and agricultural Vita money was, of course, flawed compared to gold. Because 1 ounce of gold is 1 ounce of gold. So you can measure this based on the weight and based on the volume. So you can figure out that there's not, like, there are no other metals in this structure. Or that's like, so the purity of gold could be estimated, therefore, based on weight and size, based on the physics formulas. So you have that. And for fiat, same thing. Like a piece of paper is a piece of paper. So also kind of interchangeable, right? So Vita money here definitely loses on homogeneity, and that's perhaps one of the factors that is like very difficult to solve. There's still solutions to it. So, for example, they are introducing like weights. Like for example, like they say, okay, shekel. So the name shekel originated from the weights of barley, right? So it was 180 grains of barley, approximately 11 grams. Now 180 grains of barley. So again, it could be minimum discrepancies. Maybe it's 11.1 grams or 10.9 grams, right? Or like 12 grams, right? Like in that, like if the grains this year have been larger than last year. But overall, like you can also introduce certain measurement techniques to standardize how you sell Vita, even in that stage. Now, there's some ideas for online. I found this grain commodity standard GES initiative. I think it's coming out of Ukraine actually. So they are saying, okay, 1 ton of grain as a monetary unit, and they are following Keynes. So Keynes, right, who says, "Oh, screw that whole freaking, let's go inflation, screw the Austrians, let's go." Even he says, let's read that. He says the solution for Vita. So he is essentially suggesting something called composite commodity. Okay. Nevertheless, in his tract of monetary reform, he wrote, "Nevertheless, while it would be advisable to postpone action until it was called for by an actual movement of prices, it would promote confidence and furnish an objective standard of value if an official index number had been compiled with such characters to register the price of standard composite commodity. The authorities were to adopt this composite commodity as their standard of value in the sense that they would employ all their resources to prevent a movement of its price by more than a certain percentage in either direction away from the normal." So he's saying, guys, like, he's pro-inflation. He's like, let's fucking mint money as much as we can to fight unemployment. Okay, right? So he's the guy that he's the reason, he's an excuse why our currencies are being inflated away and being printed like there's no tomorrow. But even this guy says, wait a second, chill, guys. Everybody fucking relax. How about we are to introduce a composite commodity. So how about the money will be pegged to something physical, right? And of course, like commodities will include metals for sure, but it will also include agricultural commodities. So both livestock and crop oriented. All right, so and that's how we deal with fungibility, right? So if we create kind of the standardized commodities, we're able to standardize therefore clearly, right? So no, obviously. So and thus it could serve as money because now those sizes will kind of bring the homogeneity or fungibility function quality to the Vita money. So we have divisibility, stability, value, cognizability for next time. So please remind me if I kind of ramble out. We're going to continue with divisibility next time. I hope to finish this article. It's been about 2 or 3, so maybe 4 calls, right? That have been trying to finish this one. Took forever to write it with all the quotes, and I hope these quotes make a difference because these quotes just help us kind of investigate in an investigative fashion, connect the dots of how Vita could become that real value and the real money, and how come it was completely forgotten by everybody, and we are just reviving it back. All right. So on this positive note, thank you so much. See you guys next week. Have a good one, and bye bye.